And we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to another cracking installment of the Matt Brown Show. Today I'm joined by the founder and CEO of Blackbeard Technologies, Wayne Beards. Wayne Beard? Wayne Beard? Can I call you Wayne Beard?
Wayne Beard.
Wayne Zwiers, welcome to the show, bud.
Thank you, man. Amazing. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, yeah.
Jeez, yeah, about almost half a year.
I know, it's nuts, man. So interesting backstory here. Wayne is apparently the best CEO in the country. He was beaten by us though in the best tech startup award, wasn't he?
Yeah, of course. We took one each. Not bad.
That's why we're here, buddy.
Exactly.
It's a match made in heaven.
Amazing. And well done to you guys as well. Really well deserved.
Thank you. So how do you become the best CEO in the country?
I don't think it actually is. It's the team that you have and the team that's around you and the great talent that one can put together and find to deliver and add value to the product or service or the clients that you're working with more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's, one man alone or lady alone doesn't work. It's the team and how everyone gets together and operates.
Yeah. Your business starts the day that you hire someone.
Yeah, I know. It's so interesting because they say the first almost 10, 20 employees are the how good they are is the success, the future of any startup. So that's a critical one to think about too.
Yeah, I think it was Albert van Beek or another guy on the show is saying that same thing. I think, isn't that an Apple thing? Where does that come from? It's like
it was a podcast I heard, and there's so many. I forget
it was probably
bring
this
their
one.
Names
Right?
back to yeah.
So that's great. So look, I think what's interesting here today to talk about is kind of what you do, right? So, why don't you land that for us?
So we sell things to people that they don't understand, and and
so you're a marketer.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to technology and engineers and code, it's a difficult one because it's a big dark box that no one wants to get involved in, and especially business. So for us, where we started out was building, automating, optimizing, and being efficient in business using technology. And where we currently are today is building businesses through tech. So example, Standard Bank being our client, we're building a trade finance business for them, margin lending business. So it's really end-to-end nuts and bolts of the technology and the business. So, it's great to see everyone on stage and talking about all the buzzwords and fancy words and AI and that, but like, are the guys actually sitting and building and doing the work? There we go.
That book there, it's got innovation written on it. In fact, weirdly enough, just by chance, both the books here on this table are about innovation. I actually met this is the latest one that's come out of, I picked it up last week at London Tech Week. Written by a guy called David Rohn. The book's literally entitled Non-Bullshit Innovation.
Amazing. I picked that up.
Which is kind of what you're alluding to, right?
Yeah. And I think innovation is, you can have these models and strategies, and how to apply it that's the challenge. When you're trying to overlay that in the real world and you're working with big banks or big corporates, and, we kind of find like how business ready is a brand for this disruptive or innovation in a sense as well. And it can be a challenge. The CEO's got a great vision, a great mission. He's exactly on par. He is where he needs to be. He knows that if he doesn't change, they're going to be out of business 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And then when it leaves the room in his office, it gets stuck. It's a challenge.
So, are you solving an innovation challenge then? In the business context, it's like, disruption, innovation. In fact, the other book there is The Paths to New by the chairman of disruption at TBWA. What's his name again? Jean-Marie Drew. Great, very interesting book actually. Around how do you truly innovate as a business? And to your earlier point, it's like it's all these buzzwords. It's like, oh no, you must innovate and disrupt and whatever and so forth. And AI, by the way, is not a buzzword. Yeah. It's a very real thing. But in the business context, and you mentioned Standard Bank as a customer, it's fucking impossible for them to innovate. Hence why you're there. Is that right? Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, definitely. And I think for us, we're quite, speaking frankly, ballsy in our approach. And quite, we challenge them a lot, so we push our way in the way we want to work as a startup in an agile form in a sense. And it's uncomfortable for them, but I think they love to hate us because they love that we deliver and we're doing stuff so quickly, but they hate the fact that we're always pushing and shipping features to their door and saying, well, here's the stuff, do what you need to do with it, but it's coming at a rapid pace. Just get ready, hold tight. The stuff's moving fast.
Yeah, it's Rich Mulholland started a company called 21 Tanks. You know, Rich?
Yeah.
So
no, not base camp. No, that's 21 signals.
21. I don't know. It was 21 fucking tanks, basically. So I think that was whatever it was called. I'm pretty sure it was 21 Tanks, and basically they were this innovation sort of thing. You know, obviously Rich is a very creative guy, and then he was recounting the story to me about over time, the more that he engaged with corporates in the context of innovation, he realized that they don't actually want to innovate. Yeah. They like to talk about change. Yeah. And so what he describes as what they really want is the QDF, the quick dirty fuck.
Yeah.
They don't actually want to change, you know, and, you know, there he is there up on the screen. But you know, digital kung fu started off as a very similar kind of idea to you. I couldn't get it to work. In fact, I felt it wasn't that. I probably could have got it to work. I just didn't have the hunger to do that sort of thing because it was too fucking hard. I mean, we were doing work with like some massive companies. What's that massive agricultural company? Massive? No. The fertilizer company, the 80-year-old thing, but do billions a year. Anyway, if you can Google it, you'll find them. But anyway, it was just the same thing.
Yeah.
It was like to get a product from concept to market in a big company is fucking hard.
Totally, and it's draining in terms of energy. So you have to like keep fighting that fight to get it going. But I think when you get it right and you start getting a rhythm and the wake starts happening, you know, everyone starts following that vibe and that kind of rhythm. But for me, it's quite strong on the principles of like what we set out to do and keeping that. I mean, our business model changes in the way we operate every like 3 months almost. So, but I think in our space, there's like 3 things that really guide everything. And the one is the quality of the work. So like it's just, you hardly see great quality. The meeting deadlines and times in technology and tech, like just hitting those deadlines and like pushing to drive that. And the biggest thing that I drive for everything is value. So what value are we actually delivering at the end of the day? You know, what is that in a rand value? You know, it's nice giving a login screen. The client's like, what the fuck must I do with a login screen? You know, it's like, you know, here's a feature that solves a customer problem, their problem. And, you know, that's how much that's worth. And I think when they're doing a DD and they're looking at, okay, what is the technology valued in this business? They can put a rand value to it as an investment or as an asset that they built or invested in. So, and the other thing is bridging the gap between business and IT/tech, because the one, they speak different languages. One's English, Korean, it's that far apart. And, you know, it's like, how do you, and we kind of bring that together when we're sitting in. So we as comfortable with the business case as we are with code. And, you know, bridging that together and saying, actually, you're being taken on a journey that's like you're being bullshitted in the stuff that's happening. This is what's really going on. You know, you got a great car, but under the hood, the engine's fucked. So how do we help you?
So is it about the business case then? I mean, is that what how do you get it over the line? Because, you know, it's people love to talk about innovation and these kind of like cool new products and, you know, but in a bank like Standard Bank, there are 1,000 projects that also need to be delivered as part of BAU. So anything shiny and new usually gets killed by the antibodies within the big business, right? And so hence you're kind of like a skunk works.
Yeah, exactly that. And it comes up quite a lot from a military term, funny enough, because
really?
Yeah, it was a military term that there was a skunk farm where they had this black ops team in a sense, and the smell was so bad, and that's I think how it started or came about.
He writes about it in that book there, Jean-Marie Drew. Yeah, I think it's where they built the jet engine.
Yeah.
So it was the Second World War, I think, and then they needed to come up with a way to basically beat the Nazis hands down.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't, the exact same concept. They couldn't have anyone knowing what the hell was going on. It was a stinky place, apparently. And so hence this whole idea of the skunkworks. So you are an outsourced skunkworks, is that right?
Correct. And yes, I think, if you simplify it 100%, and I think it's being, so there's different kinds of ways we do it. So one is being outside the ecosystem of the business or the corporate, and then building that and coming back and saying, here's a solution, 3-4 solutions that would take your brand out of business. And you own that and manage that. So like almost it's outside but inside in a sense. And then the other is being within the actual business, where you kind of a division or a team where we like work around how do we innovate and build new products. And I think there's so many holes in so many places, and not only in corporates, in startups, in industries. And that's where we kind of see, okay, there's the gap, and how do we like find a solution? And it's not just, people sitting down having coffee and say, I imagine this is a good idea. It's actually coming from a key insight in an industry or in an actual, in the space where people are operating and they feel that challenge. So, yeah.
What do you say to, or in fact, let's talk about this chap here. So David Rowan, so he's coming onto the show in the next few weeks, but what do you say to corporates? There's this whole thing that was very clear from London Tech Week was there's this massive startup ecosystem that's building more and more momentum. Mm-hmm. The executives at the corporate level know that they need to engage with cool startups such as Blackbeard. Mm-hmm. And Digital Kung Fu. But startups are reluctant to go to corporates to die. Yeah. Corporates are slow, startups are fast. Even if the startup and the corporate wanted to engage with one another, the corporates are basically too fucking slow for the startup to deal with. There's so much red tape, there's all this kind of cool stuff. In that context, what do you say? What is your view on that whole thing, first of all, and then we can get into the detail?
Sure. So yeah, I think it's
because you're basically doing this
exactly.
on a daily basis.
Exactly.
You build a business on.
I think it's getting a track record, and then you actually have the trust in what you're doing, and can speak around exactly how you do it and how it works, and you kind of know the key insights of what their challenges are. Arriving at the door and saying this is what we're going to do, and it's great, but you haven't got the experience or done it a couple of times to realize what it really means is the challenge. So. And again, break the rules to a point, but understand what does that mean, So yes, do stuff how you want to do it and get it over the line and use your own hosting and whatnot, but at least get an architect to sign it off and make sure that it's sound in terms of the structure and the architectural structure. So there's like a kind of key, like insights of how you do stuff. So even in the meeting we had a lot this last week, we hadn't had stuff set up in the right way, but if we hadn't done it, we would be sitting there staring at each other because no one would have done anything because no one was able to do anything. So we can migrate now, yes, but we have something in our hands to do and work on, and that's why I say love to hate us.
So, how have you made it work though? How much of an appetite is there compared to say 3 years ago? Is there now for corporates to engage with external innovation companies such as yourself?
Totally. I think
at a product level, by the way.
Exactly.
So it's not like, hey, come do a workshop and tell us how we can. It's like, we're going to build you this thing that's going to, put $1 billion on your table over the next 5 years, sort of thing.
Exactly that. And I think you're totally spot on because, there's great strategies, there's great innovation, there's great models, there's great principles of things, but it can't just be a file sitting on a shelf or be parked, and say, cool, we signed off on that, now what? It's like literally executing and getting stuff done as fast as possible and shipping value as fast as possible, and not just, it's great to sit for 8 hours and be busy, but what are you putting out in those 8 hours is critical. So to shipping and getting value out that solves problems, and the more value you ship, the more of that you get out. The kind of, as I say, the bigger the success, the bigger the wake of what you're doing.
So what's your background then? If you're talking about engaging with a corporate, at a business case level, and you're going, hey, we're going to put $1 billion on the table, but you're going to pay us 100 million over the next sort of 3 years, 2 years, whatever that sort of ratio looks like. How did you get to that point where you could actually lead a bank to making a commitment like that?
So if you're saying personally, started out as fine art, graphic design.
What are you doing here?
That's where it kind of started out. So, and funny enough, met a very successful person when studying and said, I want to be in business. That's what I want to do. And he said, well, just do what you're good at and the rest will follow. And that was probably one of the best pieces of advice I ever got as a youngster. So, went into graphic web design, went to the UK, did project management, had a project office in terms of integrated was the key word in terms of below the line and above the line in digital marketing. And then, then obviously into agencies and 360 digital solutions offering when digital wasn't even a buzzword and everyone's like, well, what's this digital word? What does that mean? Not a digital camera, but, and then technology and tech is we had that as departments or divisions within the businesses that we've had. So, now it's focusing on the tech and building, tying it back to product innovation, client strategy, business understanding. So, yeah.
It's interesting that you said that. I was listening to Christopher Lockhead and Scott Galloway this morning. Yeah. So Christopher was on this show a couple of weeks ago. Great guy. You should read his book, Play Bigger, by the way.
Awesome.
anyway, so they were talking about passion. Yeah. So you can't be passionate about innovation. Like that wasn't a thing when you were young. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And their whole point of view is that like, don't ever say to anyone as like your mate there, it's like, do what you're good at.
Yeah.
Because if you like following your passion is the worst fucking advice you could ever be given to someone or to give yourself even, you know, because it's basically find what you're good at. Yeah. Just get really fucking good at that thing, so you become like an expert in it.
Yeah.
And then, because of the economic and the psychological benefits of becoming an expert in something, so find something you're good at, apply 10,000 hours in principle, and then become this expert at something. And when you're the expert, you get economic benefits, psychological benefits, all this stuff. You suddenly become happy, more robust. You get all these that's what makes you passionate.
Yeah.
That thing.
Totally. Yeah.
It's not passion, and then everything follows from that.
And balls of steel, because it's tough, you know. You need to, you gotta push,
big gold pair of gonads.
Totally, and that's it.
You're listening, Chair. That's what you need, pal.
You gotta push, and it's not always it's not always like easy sailing, you know. And it's just pushing through to just keep that vision and like drive towards it, and know that on the other side, that's exactly what it's going to be.
So, did you know that though? I mean, have you pivoted at all? Was it always like, we're going to do this thing and I'm going to make this work no matter what?
Yeah, and it changes all the time. So it's like just going in the flow of how adaptive one needs to be and business needs to be. And I think that's also, you know, the kind of the silver line, because, you know, like being able to adapt and change to trends, to market, and even the big unicorns that are out there at the moment, you know, everyone's looking at what they're doing and copying, but stuff's happening and new things are being developed and built like right now. So, you know, it's not copying guys or copying businesses out there. It's like, you know, following again what you feels right and just pushing harder.
It's funny that, because we, you know, from kind of doing this innovation thing to then becoming a media play and now becoming a tech specialist, that all happened over a period of like 24 months. Wow, because the market was moving. Yeah. Or in fact, it's this whole thing around like the business plan. By the way, because I know you're expanding into the UK, but you need a business plan to open a bank account. It was so funny because the Department of International Trade, they were like, we can help you with due diligence, we can help you with like your visas, your legal stuff, everything, but we can't help you with a bank account. That's the only thing we can't help you with.
Wow.
But I mean, it's a thing, you know. But anyway, the reason why I'm telling you this whole thing is that, you know, there's two sides to this idea of a business plan, right? Yeah. Because no business plan's ever met or survived first contact with the customer, which is kind of what happened with us.
Totally.
And then there's the inner game stuff, which I write about in my book coming out next month, Punt.
Amazing.
Yeah, awesome. But I write about this whole thing about inner game, whatever. And but in the context of what you're doing, innovation, it's like it's moving so quickly and markets are moving so quickly, especially in tech.
Yeah. No, and we, you know, to have a formal written business plan, yes, you have an idea and you kind of know where the kind of vision is going, but again, it changes and adapts so quickly. And and even today in the business, I've never once presented a PowerPoint presentation. So it just shows, you know, it's like I've never opened up a PowerPoint.
How do you do that?
Because you can pay and get anyone to design the most amazing PowerPoints. Like that's not the actual what you're gonna come and do and deliver, you know. So, and at one of the largest banks, you know, we had 2 or 3 people on the invite, and we walked into 14 executives ready for us to pitch. And I didn't even open my laptop. The 2 of us just spoke about their challenges and how it works and what needs to happen. And Monday they said, right, guys, you have the project, you got the business. And also being real and open and honest, and you know, people are people. That this bullshit show of the sales pitch and that, like, people see through that crap. Like, get down to what's really the problem. How do you do it? What's your experience? Talk about the stuff you've done and move on. And it's and again, it's, if you can do it in the banks and you can do this in big corporates, you know, it's cool. Eh?
So what you're saying is that you're going to go to the UK and just verbally pitch your business to the bank manager who's going to open up your.
We're going to try that. or you open a South African account through into the UK.
Thank you, Investec. Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't want to mention names, but
there we
go, Investec.
Please
approve that account now.
Yeah, exactly. We're thinking the same way. But it is interesting, right? That whole business plan thing and customer contact and pivoting and all that kind of stuff. I mean, someone else once said to me, I think there's a guy in the panel, he said, I don't necessarily agree with him, is he basically runs the visa program for the UK. And I think he's from New Zealand. I forget his name now, Paul something. Anyway, so he was on a panel and he was talking about pivoting.
Yeah.
And he said the reason why the UK ecosystem is so exciting is that you can pivot and you can pivot quickly.
Yeah.
Because what you've got is, and he described the value of London's ecosystem specifically as a timeline. So he said, in any given day, you could have breakfast with an investor, an angel, an EIS network member, a venture capitalist, a fund manager, etc. You could then go and hire any of the best talent, right? Yeah. And then you could meet with the regulators for dinner.
Yeah.
And he said, what other ecosystem in the world can you do that in?
Totally.
And so he said, because of that, if you're a startup, and let's just say, Blackbeard and not Brownbeard, but Blackbeard heads, because you got a brown beard, but Blackbeard heads over there, or Digital Kung Fu heads over there, and you just find that your model needs to change.
Yeah.
You just don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So you have to pivot somewhat, maybe not entirely, because that would be stupid, right? Also, you can also say no to people, or to potential business, but if you do need to pivot, you can. And then he was describing, I think it was France. He was like, well, if you're in France, or if you're in, like, you mentioned a couple of other, like Spain or whatever, he's like, you fundamentally can't pivot. Like, you're done. Yeah. Because it would take too much time and you would need too much cash to fundamentally
re-engineer. Going, it's almost,
yeah, you're done. What do you say to that?
Yeah, and I think, it's taking the risks as well. And I wonder how much is actual individuals in business, and the people and how they work and the energy they have. And I think that's quite important to, you want to have an energy and a culture people want to be a part of and get involved with. And I think, that's a lot of what we do and we pride ourselves in. We have such a mix of cultures, diverse, inclusive kind of team, and everyone's smart. I mean, that's the golden ticket to the business that we're in, like that's a given that everyone's smart, it's like put a smile on your face and work hard and enjoy, the work that we do. So, it's just having great people and meeting clients and people that just want to be a part of that magic and feel that energy. So important for me personally as well, that's really it.
How many people are now within?
So we're currently on 30 individuals and been in business 2 years now. So
that's crazy, man. That's great though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it comes with challenges, but these are good things to have and work and manage with. And it's also how do you set up and manage your operating model in terms of your business for success and scale. Yeah. Because it's great just accepting loads of clients and building the business, but if you can't cater or have the structure and the infrastructure to deliver on that you'll fail very quickly. So it's not about just quadrupling, doubling numbers every year. It's about putting the brakes on and saying, "Crap, this is the system, and when you do this, our structure we are, and then we can take a breath and go again." Yeah, it's critically important. And again, with that, so our teams are. So interestingly enough, no one has a boss, no one reports to anyone in our business. Everyone is self-managed and self-organized. I'm not wired to sit with an adult at a table and talk about non-delivery of work. If you can drive a car, kill a person, go to jail, pay a bond, it just fucking makes no sense in my mind. If you can't do your work as an adult, what is that,
Yeah. So, what are you doing here?
Yeah, and people go home and they're so mature and they can do all these grown-up things and get to work and act like kids. No, that doesn't work. So, everyone is accountable to the team and the team they're delivering to and with on the work that need to be done, So, the weakest link in the team needs to sort it out. And then that team selects who's the team lead. It can be the most junior or senior person and they have a responsibility. And also someone that's junior, and it's not that they're stupid, they just lack experience. And then they get experience, they're at the same kind of level. So, it's really, and then also what we have in our business is 80% of time everyone focuses on client and 20% they focus on business elements. So innovation, mastery, team structure. And again, they choose the category where their staff want to work on and then select a team lead again on that. And then, so it's not me building or driving the business, it's the people and the business growing the business.
Self-organizing.
Exactly.
And autonomous, essentially.
Totally. Exactly that.
How do you get that right though? That's a very difficult thing to get right.
The people you employ is critical in terms of the individuals that you bring on and that join the business. And again, I don't personally believe that a company can motivate or create passion around an individual. Everyone has a vision and a mission or a purpose in life, and if you can align that with what the business is, you can build a great business because everyone's naturally motivated and wants to do great stuff. So yeah.
So talk to us about your onboarding process then. So you're hiring Matt Brown day one. And I'm pitching up. I'm like, who am I reporting to? You're like, no one. Okay, but then what's going on? No, there's a project. And then walk us through that. How do you then indoctrinate people? Because, the thing is, I don't like hiring for skills.
Yeah.
Always hire for attitude.
Totally.
And then, because skills you can teach.
Sure.
Right? Also, where they come from is important. So if they come from a big agency, I won't hire them.
Okay.
Because they think a certain way.
Sure. Yeah.
But if they're like a graduate from like Vega, which is most of these, hello people, most of them, is that you can indoctrinate them into your way of working. They only know it this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
There's downsides to that too, but it's about, to scale, we need you to do it like this.
Exactly.
This is our process. We know it works. It's productized. This is how it works.
Yeah.
So talk about indoctrination.
So to a couple of points to that. So the first thing, as you clearly say, is you can't employ someone to be more positive, more creative, more happier. Those things someone brings. And then the skills you can learn and grow. It's almost if they have a need to learn and grow, that's the critical part. So we have a guy, KK, who was like going from door to door, knocking on doors in companies to find work, and come in and said he'll work for free and join our company, and it literally. They said he's like the next CTO of the business because of just the way he is and the passion and the kind of individual he has and the hunger to learn. It's just those examples of, the people joining and how they want to learn and grow, the business is just in a shell or an entity for people to do that, so and create their own destiny. If guys have like great ideas and come back and, you want to do stuff, then, just put a team together, let's look at it and build it and grow it out. There's no, take a risk.
So everyone's talking about scale overseas and everywhere around the world, really, like, do you take money? Do you not take money? What do you lose if you take money? You haven't taken money yet, eh?
No, not.
Okay, see, that's smart. Hold on to that shit, equity.
So, I met a lot of private equity VC companies, and,
they've got to be very interested in you.
Yeah, I think technology is, and definitely. And again, when you look at the numbers and how things are growing, but if you don't have a conversation around it, you don't need cash, then what else does someone have to bring? And that's where I'm so strong in the principle of value. So if it's not cash, what is the other value that, people bring to the table? And programs and these kind of things, yes, it's cool, but, there's more to it, and the future of investment and the future of all these things is changing very quickly, I mean, when I was in the Dublin Tech Summit, there was a great story of a tennis player, a young tennis player, and she was raising funds as people investing in her, as her being the kind of entity, and her winnings were then paid back to her shareholders of her. So it's a whole different game and how things are changing.
Now you can trade humans.
Yeah, and
legally.
Their performance and their tennis performance. Yeah, totally.
But not an entire human, only the finger. Fractional reserve. Humans on the blockchain. Someone write that down. But it is interesting, right? I mean, I think what you've done is you've got to some sort of scale really quickly. Yeah. We're kind of on a similar path. And we're kind of scrambling to get us ready to really seriously consider moving into a second country. Yeah. And, everything from systems, process, senior leadership team, same sort of thing that you guys have been going through. What does a founder need to know about that? I mean, if he's got some traction, he's got like maybe 5 staff, he's got ambitions to, let's just say he's a health tech player or an ed tech player or a fintech player, and he wants to go over to London or whatever. And what's your words of advice there? What have you learned about like getting scale ready?
There's so many, and so many I'm learning as well. It's never, you can't know everything. And
do you know what you're doing?
I'm working it out.
No one knows what they're doing. That's what I'm learning.
Whoever knows is bullshitting.
If someone says they know what they're doing, they totally can ignore them.
I hope the engineers in the business know what they're doing and know what they're delivering. That I do at least. But the person driving a vision or strategy, needs to guide left and right and move base and change it. But I think just like kind of key learnings, I think is getting a leadership team that can manage and you can trust, that can really, you can't be like a one person and everyone else in the business, because it's just, you can't be that one block the founder CEO needs to be like the least important person, really. That, if they're at the top of the pyramid, you remove the top piece, the pyramid still stands. It can't be the other way around. You move the bottom, the whole thing falls down. So like, how do you set that up first and foremost? And then I think all startups, the biggest thing is like cash flow, and how do you manage cash flow and really work that one out? Because that's, I mean, when they say most businesses go bust in the first 5 years, I'm almost sure cash flow is the biggest thing. And it's where businesses get caught without realizing what's coming or what couldn't come. And like those are the traps that people get stuck in.
I heard my wife shared with me a stat yesterday. It was an article in like Fin24, and it was the most recent numbers about SME failures or insolvencies and liquidations. From April 2019 to April 2018. You want to hear the numbers?
Hit me with
so the number of liquidations and insolvencies for small businesses in South Africa has increased by 53% in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
How's that?
Totally. Yeah. And you can see it, I think. And it's one of the great economists, I forget his name now, but he was saying like, we don't have an unemployment problem in South Africa, we have an employment problem. So
what does that mean?
So get entrepreneurs, get founders, get people that can create employment and get that going and bed that down so that, one to many can, create a lot of jobs and support and grow and work with these individuals. So if you've got 1,000 entrepreneurs, imagine the amount of jobs that you would have, but then support these individuals. Not, it could still be a great founder and entrepreneur, but they stuck with challenges that is, the macroeconomic like challenges, the economy, and looking at, consumers and, spending and where they are at the moment. And it's all those kind of challenges. It doesn't make it one of better or worse entrepreneurs, just there's risks in the greater picture as well. Yeah.
Which makes the whole discussion about scale so niche. You know what I mean? Like very few people, like entrepreneur founders, graduate there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like really, it's a very hard thing to get to.
Totally. And then how many individuals who have can scale again and again and again?
See, that's the thing. I mean,
is it luck? Is it like, just having one of the right meetings that opened another door, which was like a rock star?
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, these are good.
Which is kind of what I mean. Let's talk about ourselves, right? So now after LTW, it's been like the whole strategy has shifted from America to now looking at the UK, and obviously the time difference is helpful. To your points around scaling into a second market, it's like, how much do you back yourself?
Sure. Yeah.
Why did you choose the UK? Is it the time difference thing?
Yeah. So I think it's a very mechanical way of doing work and business. And I think that needs to start changing as well. Again, we only know what we know. I've lived and worked in the UK for 4 years. So I do know to a point, but it's just taking that very relaxed, loose way of how we work and deliver and put stuff together and showcasing and proving it in a market that could be potentially very structured and rigid. Red tape's probably the biggest word you hear there, So, but how do you do that with, relying and creating trust and, looking at those sort of things? So, yeah, it's definitely, and who doesn't like pounds, eh?
You're earning pounds, you're spending pounds. I was told when I was like 19, I went over there. I was like, yeah, but I'm going to earn it was my first job. I was like £12,500 a year. And then I was waitering at the time. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to earn I was young and arrogant, obviously. And then I was like, yeah, it's like 120,000 Rand a year. What 19-year-old earns that kind of money? You know what I mean? And then my boss at the time, Petros, he was a Greek dude.
Yeah.
So I worked at Del Gecko Fishmonger, and he said to me, Matt, here's the thing about the UK. You're earning pounds, but you're spending pounds.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, but that's not the point. Meanwhile, when I got there, I got the fright of my life.
And like London's designed to spend your money, like you earn, you spend. And it's funny how similar our stories. We had 19 or so into the UK, backpacking, traveling, and worked on turkey farm and planting trees as well, just for you do random things, eh? But if you talk about getting to the grind of really hard work, I think we were packing 20,000 turkeys in trucks a day. I never ate chicken for
on your own
4 years.
How'd you do that?
It's just crazy. Some of these turkeys,
that's scale, man. You're a scale
50
guy.
50 kg turkeys, but and then planting trees to make pounds to backpack across the world. And I actually bought my first car when I came back, from the pounds I earned. but it was like 19 rand to the pound then. So yeah, it just shows that.
But the thing also, I mean, you know, with the UK, it's like you have to go with your eyes wide open. Like, you know, you're not just competing with the plethora of, you know, tech marketing, whatever kind of companies, tech dev companies. It's like, it's not just companies in the UK that you're competing with. You're competing with every other company on the European continent.
Sure.
Right? It's like, that's a very real thing. So who do you need to become as a founder, as a leader, and as a business in order to remain competitive?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I mean, there's another stat. I met with the developers of, they're called Nugent, I think they're called. But they're basically, over the last 18 years, you should totally set up a King's Cross, by the way.
Okay.
10 years ago, it used to be full of like prostitutes and drug addicts.
Yeah.
And over the last sort of 10 to 18 years, they've been redeveloping King's Cross. So buying up all the dodgy like land, all the clubs were closed down, like Fabric and all these places. You know, did you go to Fabric?
Yeah.
Did you? I see me too.
It doesn't seem dodgy, eh?
And like and trade and whatever. And so they all closed down because these developers were buying up all the land, and it took a lot of time, a lot of planning permission from the borough of Camden, whatever. So now today it's called the Knowledge Quarter. Facebook's there, Google's there, YouTube's there, DeepMind is there, Nike's there, and they're creating essentially the Palo Alto of the UK/Europe in London, King's Cross. It's an incredible place to see. They've got, I think it's called the Crick's Research Institute. They're basically solving the cure for cancer there. They're like, it's the Europe's largest biomedical research center. It's like 1,000 researchers. The crazy stories are coming out of that place, but that whole place is being regenerated to attract the best startups from around the world.
Amazing.
But then to incubate them and accelerate them, there's about 164 accelerators in the UK.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There it is there up on the screen, the Francis Crick Institute. I'll tell you another story about that in a second. But my point is, with all this stuff, it's like if you're a South African founder, or maybe from fucking Kenya, I don't care where you're from, Argentina, I met many from other emerging markets. But if you're looking at going into the UK, it's like you've got to go there with your big boy panties on and your brass balls, because if you think you're just going to pitch up and make money, you've got another thing coming. It's like the world's best companies are there. So you have to compete at that level.
Totally. And I think we also forget sometimes we are as good as everyone else. Yes, we're big boy panties, but we are still good.
Yes, we are.
There's a lack of engineers and great talent globally. So, you know, sometimes we kind of feel we're on the back foot, but we're not necessarily. We can still deliver and do amazing stuff. And then South Africa is a good learning and play field to get and build your model to a point where it actually is like ready for a different level or stage, you know. So it's a really exciting place to use that and like build stuff, build products, innovate, get your feet, find your rhythm, and then go in and, you know, collaborate with, you know, South Africans as well as, you know, in say that. But also not to forget the Eastern European market. There's huge opportunity there. Speaking to the Lithuanian government, and there's more capital investment than individuals or companies can deliver on the work that needs to be done. So yeah, it's massive. So yeah, I mean, Ukraine, Lithuania, all those kind of regions, it's there's massive like need for stuff to be done. And obviously, they're emerging economies, so and in the EU as well. So yeah.
The other thing that really was blatantly obvious was this whole idea around open collaboration. You know, it's like, you know, let's just say in South Africa there's this mindset that competitors are bad. You know, like they're there to eat your lunch and, you know, steal your clients and all this kind of stuff. But in developed economies like the UK and I suppose in like Latvia and Estonia and so forth, it's like it's not like that. It's like, fuck, come look at our shit. You know, come let's talk. You got AI? Cool. Come look at what we're doing. You know, and they're happily willing to let you look up their skirts and see what they're all about.
And even in the shared workspaces, guys are doing the same thing. Collaborate. Especially, I actually presented at cybersecurity last week, and in Israel there were 15 Israeli startups in the cybersecurity. I mean, Israel and security kind of go hand in hand in a way, but what they're saying is in the shared office spaces, everyone shares code and shares work. Even different companies doing different things, and the stuff that the kind of bar projects they build and develop just on that is like phenomenal. So it's totally a different way of working.
Yeah,
but I doubt Google's going to share its source code. So. Or Amazon, so
it's like, but it's funny. It's like everything's gone open source. Linux is now like everywhere. Whereas like when Microsoft 95 and Windows first came around, it was like it wasn't that way.
Totally,
it was like the outlier.
But it all kind of has its place. I think for certain pieces in RP and stuff as well. And I think when you're on the front line as we are doing like revolutionary stuff and innovative stuff, it's always kind of keeping it going. And then when's right to hit the market and. There's always that play of quality versus hit time to market, and sometimes you can always iterate on features and stuff, but just get something in market and go for it, which is that's probably critical. And again, another interesting insight again with team is I almost come to learn that the team dynamics that's working on a project is probably stronger than the skills as well, because how the team's collaborating, working together, and teaching and mentoring each other. Is far stronger than just having a lot of smart guys that hate each other working on the same team. That's bickering and talking crap all day. So these are cool things. And even our clients, we want people like you, want people like that person. They want the vibe as well to understand. Like it's open. It's no ego. It's like just put your shit at the door and like do cool stuff, and no one's greater or worse than anyone else. So just get on with and join the party.
Yeah, that's a Crick Institute. That whole thing that you've just said is an important one, right? So basically when you do renovations of any kind, you have to get permission from the local borough. So that's what it looks like inside. And everything is open. So the canteen, they wanted to have, I think it was like 400 or 500 seats, but everything together.
Yeah.
So even in that building, they put the lifts in the far corners of each building or of that building so that it's hard to get to because they want you to meet people.
Totally.
So their whole thing, and remember, like they're going after the cure for cancer. Is one of their key like objectives. So when they applied for planning permission for the renovation, Camden said, well, you can't do that. What are you doing? You can't have, like for the canteen specifically, they were like, we want everyone to be sitting together. They were like, And there was all these like weird like bylaws and stuff. And so they were like, they're motivated and they said, well, listen, here's what's basically happening. We're trying to solve for the cure, we'll find the cure for cancer. So if you don't give us this planning permission, you're essentially standing in the way of us solving cancer. How do you feel about that?
Sure.
And they were like, you can have whatever you want. So they gave them this the planning permission and stuff. I mean, it's crazy. It's a beautiful building. But it's based on that same thing. Great ideas happen when you connect. And it doesn't matter whether you're it's like people from different backgrounds, cultures, races, creeds, whatever the case is. And the better you connect them, to your point, or the way that you described your project teams, it's the same thing.
Totally, yeah.
It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
And when you do it that way, it creates like just magic happens. It's the X factor.
Exactly that. And also, there's no like holding on to stuff. That's what we want to do. And whoever can add value or do great stuff, just get involved and do it. Totally.
So, dude, you're about to, one of your plans is to obviously expand into the UK. How do you know when you're ready? What are kind of like, what's the feedback? Is it an intuitive thing or is it an external thing?
When you got energy. and that's actually an interesting point, as an entrepreneur, founder, is like, where do you get your energy sources and how, I think running a business 3-4 years ago is very different to how it is today. It's balancing a lot of stuff. It's keeping your energy levels high and like really looking after oneself as well, taking time out and like, balancing it all. I get like certain things take a hell of a lot of energy and focus, and it's like, knowing when's the right time for that is a starting point. As well as, then looking at the economy or the market and what's happening and, looking at where the holes or the gaps are and like what you're going to do and, how you fill those with the greatest solutions, and then prove that you can do it as well. It's great saying you can do X, Y, and Z, but if you've never done it before, it's like, that's fun and cool, but, you come back in 10 years when you've done it. So, talk the talk really.
So what supplements are you taking? Because we had a little bit of a chat before we went live around that.
Sure. So,
what do I need to be taking? Tell me what you take. Schedule 5s or what are you doing?
So Interestingly enough, I had a shoulder op, so I hadn't been doing exercise in the gym for 9 months, and it could definitely feel it and takes its toll. So I think, like exercise is critical. Sleep is another. We're looking at another business where we're looking at how do we monetize and commoditize sleep as an actual. I think there's going to be definitely in the future big focus on sleep and, putting monetary value on sleep. It's so critical in terms of how beneficial sleep is. So it's getting your sleep and different sleep cycles. All these smart tools and watches, looking at deep sleep, shallow sleep, and what does it mean? With those different phases, what it does to the body, which is so important. It's quite interesting, even to the point that a male who sleeps 5 hours compared to another of 8 hours has smaller testicles because of the testosterone and the release of testo in the body. Yeah.
Trevor, those late nights, pal.
So it's quite. I see everyone jumps their heads up, puts their heads up, and that. But this is the reality, and also like the chemicals that it releases in the brain, and what's so interesting is also like tech downtime, because we're taking on so much information and we're processing so much in the day, and it's not going into our subconscious. So how do we have that time where the information goes into our subconscious, so we can actually store that, and it's just flooding the brain with so much info. And the future, again, what we quite radical in our thinking is looking at our staff working 4 hours, intense 4 hours, but there's conditions potentially at 2 hours. It's like, straight off that you do an hour's exercise and you sleep 8 hours minimum and you eat healthy. It's looking at the bigger picture as well. Because how is it possible for a human to be focused and to work at an optimal level for 8 hours a day? It's impossible. The human brain can't cope with that. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So look at fitness, exercise. Just looking at the bigger picture, and also how does one get energy? Like, people don't think about that. Same thing about how do you get your energy source? Yeah. Is food and or what? So yeah.
It was funny enough. There was a startup that we met at Techcelerate at the Excel Center, which is a sleep app. Yeah. Okay. So can you remember the name of it, Mav? Dreamlab. Okay. Yeah. Right. So basically you can download the app. I think they have like 60,000 active users. So how it basically works is you turn it on when you go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then what it's doing, it's not doing like analyzing your brain waves or anything like that. It's quite simplistic, but it's about using the power of crowdsourced smartphones to crunch data related to health.
Sure.
So looking at like what are the superfoods and all this kind of stuff and blah, 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 blah. Quite interesting thing, Dreamlab. So go and check it out. But what do you meditate? Like how do you, because I agree with you. I don't think like, through fucking 10,000 years or 30,000 years of evolution, maybe it's even more, who cares? But we've evolved into the space where technology now is like literally flooding our minds with information. So we haven't evolved to deal with this situation.
Totally.
So, you know what I mean? Have you listened to that podcast with Naval and Joe Rogan?
No.
So Naval's not even human. He's like a super intelligent dude, VC investor.
Okay.
Done very well for himself, become a bit of a celeb, and obviously Joe's got a massive podcast. So anyway, so he was just talking about the same sort of thing, which is what you've described, which is like we're not prepared. So actually what you don't need is more, you need less. You need to get away from society.
Totally.
Like we're not meant to be, take New York, for instance, like you're surrounded by cement.
Yeah.
It's like you haven't evolved to be living like that.
Totally. Take your shoes, socks and shoes off and go walk on grass. It's
exactly.
like and funny, when living in the UK and London, you'd never hear your footsteps because of the hustle of the city. You come over, you can actually hear leaves crunching and like your footsteps.
So it's
like, it's interesting things. It's a balance. And, and like I did a presentation to a group of entrepreneurs on balance and, sleep, family, religion, like work, and I think the takeout there was like, you don't get balance. There's really no such sort of thing. At different times, different things peak in your life, and but I think it's critical to know what those elements are. I had a great chart where you plot it all down, but as long as you understand as to where you are at what stage, if you kind of health is low but work is high, family is low, as long as you see that picture and know where you are at any stage and what you need to focus or not on, it's focusing your time and attention potentially as well. So
the thing is, you don't know. That's interesting, right? So we're all we've just literally had spoken about innovation
Yeah.
and product and tech and all this kind of cool stuff and scaling up and what have you. But now we're talking about entrepreneur health, which is the other side of the coin. And so, as you know, and what any founder entrepreneur knows, it's like it becomes a freight train. It just goes completely. There is no fucking balance. But you go all the way to the west when you need to come in the center, so you can realize that actually there's many different directions in life, but you don't know the state of your health. Do you know you're an EO, right? Okay. Do you know a guy from ExecuCare Health Insight? He was on my show probably like 3 years ago. I'll get his name for you, but you should connect with him if this is a thing for you. So ExecuCare is basically a 4-hour, 5-hour assessment. So I did it as part of the podcast, and I did it before and what have you. But basically, they strap you up to machines. Like you look like Ross Edgley, the guy who swam around the UK and like jacked up to fucking machines, and they're checking your lungs and your blood pressure and your health and your toxicity and this all the kind of stuff and blah blah blah. And they look at it, the full blueprint for a high performance executive.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty robust, and they put you through like the training, whatever. And then they give you like this monster 25-page report that tells you about everything that you need to change now in order to, become a healthier, more sort of full 360, whatever that means, human being, right? Yeah. And so interestingly, he said there's the number of, in corporates, right? Let's just say Standard Bank. So you got Sim still there, Sim Shabalala, and his other dude. Anyway, the two CEOs. Yeah. So basically, you wouldn't put both of them on the same plane.
Yeah.
Okay. But in the health context, it's literally like that. Is that you're not then, most executives, most entrepreneurs are not paying attention to the health in the way that they should. Yeah. They're not. Yeah. They just don't have the time, or there's a excuse, family, pressure, time. You just don't have the time. So in the health space, he said like the number of CEOs, and they go work through discovery, I believe, or they used to. And he said the number of CEOs that come to them, and they literally that day get sent to the hospital. Yeah. That day. Imagine how bad your health must be. And that you still choose every single day not to give a fuck.
Totally. And you can look good and look amazing. It's just what's inside and what's really what's the engine under the hood, as we say again, Yeah. And also had a great kind of around the boardroom with one of the Discovery CEOs, and he again was going around, how's everyone's health? How are your health? And like someone saying, no, I'm fine, this and that. And he's like, are you sure you're fine? And I was like, it's interesting to see like what does that really mean? And like how does that translate? So but I think, and also going back and pulling a bit of tech back into it, we're going to live a lot longer. So, what does it mean to live 150, 200 years? Like, and if it means sleeping minimum 8 hours a night that means you're going to live longer. That's where it's going to start changing. And I think that's the critical components. You can't like sleep 3-4 hours a night and expect, you apparently a person who sleeps less than 6 to 8 hours a night ages 10 years more than a person that sleeps a lot more. So, it's these are interesting things that are coming in, how technology comes into being the enabler in a sense of all of this as well. And then, the interesting thing at Africa Tech Week was like, would you stay married to the same person for 200 years? So
totally, 100%, baby.
You're all the
but it's interesting what you're touching on here, which is like the struggle porn thing. Yeah, it's an endemic. Apparently Gary V's. Everyone knows Gary V does a lot of this thing. It's like hustle is the most important word in the English language. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
And you got to fucking work like. It's like, even if you have, what did he say the other day? It's like, even if you have like a similar product to mine, I'll outwork you. It's like, but that's the message. It's like, you've got to kill yourself to death to be successful. That's such a bullshit narrative though.
Totally. And it's a long road, So enjoy it. Make sure you're having fun and have your high energy and clear focus, make good decisions, instead of like being like, having brain fog because you're so like finished, that's what I believe, mate. To be honest, it seems like you have the same kind of view or belief. So, interesting.
Well, let's wrap this up. Why do you do what you do? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
So, personally, at the moment, because things do always change, as we say, my kind of purpose at the moment is bridging the gap between the have and have-nots and using technology to enable that, whether it be money, water, sanitation, whatever that means. And there's amazing things that we're doing and NGOs we're building out as well, which is like just gives you purpose in what we do, and working with brands and the learnings and then applying that to doing stuff that's changing humans and individuals' lives is really, really cool and fun. So we actually, Watch the Space, launching a really cool product and solution out in that space, so
Space.
really cool. Space, yeah.
Are you mining asteroids?
No, so more in the education for kids.
Space edu.
So I think the key, the main thing was there for me was I don't believe anyone in this world should not be able to be educated, especially with technology and how cheap it is, and 100 Rand for Udemy course. So, it's an enabler to starting that process for kids to be educated. So collaborating and partnering with amazing companies and people to do that. That really drives passion, and using technology as a tool to do all of these things. And exciting things for us, we potentially going to have a lot of new changes, potentially rebranding coming up. So,
really?
Yeah, really cool stuff.
Brown beard.
No beard. Really cool stuff. So watch the space, and it's a great journey and a ride and having fun. And thank you so much for the time and having us on the show. Really, really been great.
Wayne Zwiers, everybody.
Thank you. Awesome.